realize like I pressed the thing. Let's give honor to the source of the creator, the most high, for making all this possible. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Oh man. Yeah. Give gratitude to the ancestors known and unknown, those that come before us. Gratitude to the source. Oh man. We get right into this. There's so many topics at hand that I can collectively speak about. I feel like I'm being, one of my previous videos that's uploading, I'm being so patient because I have like stuff uploading. Like, I think this transit with like this Venus and Capricorn has me so committed to a lot of things right now. Even in the moment of like, you can use a term, like the unemployment rate right now is so intense, but I'm very much well aware of why a lot of that shift is happening. Some people will say technology, AI, and so forth. It's also a collapse in the previous generations and like their blueprint of their structure. My previous videos I upload, I talk about how like things are naturally returning to the flow of things. The feminine flow then creates into this like masculine, like the structure aspect. So that's kind of one of the things I realized, like even moments where I feel like, dang, I have these expectations of like, dang, I should go here, I should do here, I should go here. Am I wanting more out of life? And this is just me, is where I just won't overwork, overextend, burn myself out anymore. My body won't allow me, my emotional body, like my spirit won't allow me to just go out there or go somewhere and just simply burn myself out. And then I start to see something that I realized that was trending. And, you know, for me, a lot of us, you know, some of us had to mother and father themselves early, like to be responsible very early. And I noticed like how I came across a video where, you know, you see a lot of these young boys who get offers so early from like, let's say scholarships and something from schools, right? Pertaining to football or basketball. And it's like, it reminds me of like how quickly, systematically, like the innocence can be stripped, or like literally to get in and to remove that. And you will literally have coaches or people literally like assume like, this is what's really for the best, instead of allowing this child to just grow and evolve and find their purpose, or, you know, come into their own awareness of what it is they want to do. I really feel like so many kids are pressured so young, man. When I look, I talked about how things are structured when it preys on the childhood wounds of our children very early, even when it comes to like sports, when it comes to the music industry, a lot of stuff, bro. Because people get caught up in the glitz and glamour and don't care about the child's well-being. Like there is like, and this is from personal experience of knowing people and they're not prepared emotionally, mentally, and so forth, when let's say they have this so much of a high, or put up on a high pedestal, experiencing so much money or certain things so soon, And a lot of people don't know what comes, the emotional capacity, the mental capacity, that comes with that not so much attention, but that spotlight. And when you look at a lot of celebrities or people of certain status, again, I always highlight the inner child. I can see how some of them are so far gone to where this stardom or what they thought it should be, now that it's drifting away because the world is shifting collectively and the consciousness collectively is shifting. It's really highlighting how much of people's innocence is stripped so early to where they have no idea or no sense of identity into their adulthood. That's why I can see a lot of people crashing out or really going away from having no sense of their own identity beyond just what they've been performing in the last years to come, or last 10, 15 years. And this is like worrisome or concerning, because I'm like, how and where do they start after that? After an injury, after again, when you're talking about, like, I saw a video of a young boy. He had all these offers again, and I was telling myself, like, wow, I'm not that child father, but I just pick up on the energy of like how they had him training so early. And it's like, do we ever ask these children what, not only they already know what they want from life, because again, society, again, Boomer Nation and generations before, when you realize like how a lot of people put their kids into like consumed by like so much things like entertainment, trying to go viral, trying to be like the spotlight of something. And again, it's so much performance to where they don't develop an identity. They really lose themselves. And so there's more focus on the superficial, the surface, rather than the emotional aspect. You can even see look how kids bully each other online. Look how kids the jealousy, the envy, or so many different emotions around them not being the number one in their class. Man, I'm trying to tell you, it's so many things around that to where you got kids being bullied or being ridiculed by simply when they're out there playing or when they're doing something and they don't do it to the best to perform, they're degraded. And this is where I emphasize for those children who are not even prepared for people who are bullying. I feel like a lot of coaches and a lot of people, they bully those kids into, because they get paid from it on the back end. They don't emphasize with those children. When an injury happens, it's on to the next child. It's like modern day, like evolved slavery or chattel. That's how I look at a lot of that shit. It's just my perspective. I'm looking at it like on a deeper level. I'm like, there's no empathy when it comes to NFL or when it comes to a lot of sports organizations. There's no empathy. A lot of them dudes know as soon as they get injured, bro, I've seen videos of, people, bro, their bodies are tore the fuck up. I know guys personally, their bodies it'll never be the same, and they gotta live with it. Those kids don't know about stuff like that. They don't know about the depths of stuff like that. That a lot of this stuff collapsing because of, again, it's so much greed and gluttony behind it. Who's the next this? Who's the next this? Who's closer to this? No sense of identity. Notice like they never really, they always use someone else's names. Oh, he's the such and such 2.0, or he's the da 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 da. They always compare. Comparison is the thief of joy. You're gonna see, I can honestly see a lot of more athletes coming out most likely, if you want to use the term retiring or walking away from a lot of stuff, simply because they're going to realize with this in like this spiritual alignment that's happening collectively, people are going to realize like they have been a part of things that has simply siphoned and drained them. The schools are just as worse as all of that. I told you that it don't matter what it looks like. All of it is a gateway to the same thing. It's a gateway right to the same shit. I'm grateful that I wasn't a part of it. I knew homeboys, we talked about it, but I'm grateful I wasn't a part of it because it's not sitting around fun and joy and you know, if it was up to me, the fun in all of those things, it's more, people have got so consumed now by getting paid. It's all about money first, not about character integrity. And then it's like, they don't even have fun no more. You see some of these videos and a lot of this stuff, they don't even have fun anymore. There's no structure in it anymore. I was saying to myself, like, I see a lot of these kids that do come up and they can be very gifted and talented or whatever. But there's not a lot of structure. They're just going with the flow of things. And what it is like, depending on how we grew up, like my growing up, I played against adults, so things were more challenging and difficult. Now it's like, this shit is like a circus now. It's literally like what they call like it's literally a circus. And it's so much goes on behind the scenes that people have no, like, it's gonna be so much more exposure. Like, people are so quick to throw their kids out into the spotlight, vulnerable, no sense of protection, no sense of protecting them mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and so forth. They just throw them out there to the wolves, hoping they come out to be the best. And don't tell them about I don't even know if the percentage is probably like, what? When I was growing up, they say, what, 3, 4, 5% make it to so-called the leagues. Don't know. Like that, it's probably not even a 1% no more, because of, you got all these deals and you got all these things that are happening, because this is just exposing the greed. You got people that are, a lot of things that are happening. Like I said, I'm speaking about these things because it's exposing how the innocence have been removed from a lot of things. It's not fun. It's not genuine no more. Of course, that's a competitive nature, but still, there's people I know, we play, it's a fun thing. Of course, you're going to have emotions and things, but again, that's where the structure lies. That's where the structure comes in. But again, once you remove the fun, you don't even allow the children to have fun no more. It's like, who can get the NIL deal? Who can do this? Who can do this? And you got people that are like, like a lot of things. Some people that have been to got close to the league and now returning. What's going on? These things trending about them returning to college and so forth. Like I said, a lot of stuff just doesn't surprise me. It's more so like, how are you really preparing your children? A lot of what I see, it comes off just surviving, because the focus is just more on the dollar, just on how much money the child can make. You know, I feel like it's a lot of exposing to them early to things and so forth. And again, not a lot of structure in place. It's wild how our children are exposed so young, or try to expose them so young to so many things. And we're wondering why, when you see the mental health crisis, when you see a rise in mental health, mental illness, you see a rise in just so many things where people are so careless. They don't care about who's on the street. They don't care. Again, this comes from a lack of empathy, man. I've been seeing people. I met a young lady last night. She said she had a son, and just conversing with her. And, you know, I can tell she was, you know, on drugs or whatever. But it's like, just to realize like how many people deep down are just wanting to feel seen. I expressed to her, like, I know the inner voice in you, the little girl, has been silent and so forth. You know how much this world needs encouragement and empowerment? The reason I'm telling you about these things when it comes to our children, like them being exposed so young, is for y'all to realize, like, there's a pattern. There's a pattern that's concerning, because here it is, this young boy, you know, just because he's at a certain size, just because he's 15 and so forth. And you will literally have people pressure him so much instead of allowing him to become, how could I say, like, think for himself, be self-sufficient. You know how many people run and try to pressure people, parents, and, oh, well, girl, he could be the next, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then you already have these mothers that are very vulnerable. Very vulnerable. They're probably in a survival state. They're probably like single mothers or something. Basically in a place where the first thing, of course, they're going to look to is the money. And the reason I say a lot of this shit, it ain't just so much of the innocence. It's also preying on the mothers. It's preying on their vulnerability, bro. It's preying on their vulnerability, because the root cause of that is that, okay, all this money comes or something happens, right? But there is a lot that comes with that. You don't know the depths of the household. We don't know the backstory and so forth. People are so greedy. Them coaches, a lot of this shit is getting exposed. They just want to get paid regardless. They just want to get something from it. They just want to get a piece of their pie. This has been going on for so long because that's the greed behind it. It amazes me. I look at how they put so many hundreds and millions of dollars into college campuses, into universities. Like me going to a university, have gone, and then you have other places where some of these universities where I saw a video how I think these kids played at a school and they were basketball players. And bro, they had shoes. They pressed the button or they pulled out something, and it had air conditioning where their shoes could dry off. I was like, what the fuck? Where is it? Like the priority? And that's another way they get these kids, you know, once they go do their visits and everything and so forth. Yeah. Once they get there, you know, they love to have, oh, the number one child, or this child that's number one, and make him the face of this and make him the face of that. But no one talks about the backstory of those injuries. No one talks about how those kids have to go back home to the hood. No one talks about how a lot of those kids don't have financial literacy and so forth. It's a lot of stuff. Because a lot of that has a lot to do with emotional stability and security, how to structure and manage things. So when I saw that video there, like some of these campuses, again, some may call like how things evolved from so-called the collapse of the Roman Empire, or, you know, all that entertainment shit. And that's what's collapsing, because again, you know, that I remember that story of that guy that was in a coma or something. His coach didn't even care. Bro, y'all be surprised how much stuff is like gonna be exposed. I forgot the player, but y'all don't realize, like, this is why I talk about the empathy aspect. I talked about the mother aspect. I talk about different things and levels when you're talking about the sports and all this other stuff. Bro, there's no empathy in that shit. There's no genuine empathy. They're looking for the next come up. They're just like anybody else. They're looking for the next star, what they call a star, and not seeing that all children are in their birthright, all unique. They're looking for the next something. Yep. And so for me, I was sitting here like, whoa. I was like, you invest all this money into some of these schools? Y'all be surprised. Go research some of them schools, how much money. You know what I'm saying? And then it's so funny because racism fuels a lot of the shit, the self-hatred. You know how many of those kids will never talk about how they bullied in school? Athletes. Let me tell you how on levels this shit starts. I told you before a year, like probably about a year or two ago on my videos, how just as a darker person, let me show you how systematic racism or self-hatred has fueled this country for years. Notice how, and this is why, like, as an indigenous man, where, like, I realize as I call my energy back and no longer be a part of certain shit, I realize, like, that's why I observe and I realize I'm watching the collapse because I know what I can be a part of. I know the amazing, like, athleticism I still have at the age of, like, 36 is young, but it's just a feeling of taking care of my body. I know what I'm capable of. I know even when it comes to my writings, my speaking, and so many different parts of me that other people, a lot of people have no idea. And it's the fact of how when you're called to do things a certain way, it's the fact of protecting it. And so again, it's like, it's all levels. Years ago, I told you about how, like, I came from a school in Alabama, Birmingham, when I was in middle school, and then moved back, to return to North Carolina. And where my mom and them live, we had to go to the school. And I've never in my life went to a school that was predominantly people that didn't look like me. And I've never in my life at that time experienced so much, like, what I've told before, like passive aggressiveness and untrustworthy people, just racism, just self-hatred so much. Like, a lot of stuff I was like, it's very traumatizing for a lot of people. And when I reflect on that, I was like, the first thing when I got there was, I remember people coming up to me just by being a darker boy in their school. Hey, are you gonna play football for us? Yep. They want to see how great of a performer or athlete that you are. What could they use you for? Use you up for. And where I'm at right now, I refuse to be used by anything. And I had to get to that place because this is how important, when I talk about empathy and having empathy for myself, is that they'll have sympathy for those players or people who get injured or certain shit that happen. But a lot of people, no matter their skin color, because skin folk ain't kin folk. None of that shit. Like, and they don't have empathy. And so it was all about what could I do. And I even seen certain players, the favoritism treated a certain way because they performed better than other players that were darker. Meaning that, seeing players that were indigenous, that were darker. And one performed a little different than the other one, and they got different treatment. See what I'm saying? I seen guys who had a fucking 2.0 in school and got favoritism because he was more athletic. Like, a lot of bros know, a lot of people know this. I'm not trying to shoot down someone's dreams or whatever it is, but you don't realize, like, you were never living out your dream. It's your dream to go to the league. It's your dream to go this and do that and do something better. But you didn't realize, like, the whole time behind the scenes, that was someone else's nightmare for you. They were creating a nightmare. They didn't care. It's data. It's all these things collected. Or we made sure that such and such got this. Or we gonna make sure. Not to mention the ones in the hood who proclaim to be for the children and all this other stuff. And yeah, we gonna make sure such and such all right. They look like it. As soon as you get off and go up somewhere, you're isolated. You're secluded. You're not ready for the shit that really go on in them schools. When you have to meet other athletes that are just as great at what you do. But then, you have to deal with the politics behind that shit. You have to deal with, I'm going to use the term politics, but I'll just say manipulation behind it. It's a lot that comes with that. Y'all don't realize like the powers that used to be and all this other stuff. It all had to do with control, manipulation, all that politics and all that stuff when it comes to energetic things. These are things on a deeper level that starts very young. How can we distract them very young? How can we get them, And so that's why I said it started young for me. I had to go and be a part of stuff to really see, like, oh my gosh, I didn't want you to be a part of this. I didn't want you to be a part of this for your protection of your essence and your innocence. Because you have a greater mission, there's a bigger picture to this shit. When you're not here, there's a bigger picture to the millions, the generations of children that you're going to touch by being your authentic self, by loving on yourself. Do you know how fucking promising that is? That's the promise from Source that I know I'll always be taken care of. That's that divine mother energy, divine father energy. I'll always be taken care of. You take care of you, and mom will be like, I'll take care of the rest. But we didn't grow up in societies like that. Because a lot of us, we were trying to make it out, not only away from the people who we probably were abused by, but we were trying to get away. Yeah, we said, we going to do this and do that. But a lot of us wanted to stay away because of so much traumatic experience. Not just with our own people in the home. When you have traumatic experience with people who don't look like you early, and then you come to this self-realization, the whole time you've been abused, emotionally manipulated, financially abused in the system, in all these structures. And now you're being asked to build slow. No, I keep telling y'all want to rush your children into shit instead of them building slow. Delayed gratification, building slow, planting seeds. Life is like toiling the ground, like building slow. I wanted things to happen, and I still sometimes get caught up in that, but I be like, that's not even a mindset. That's someone else's belief system. That's societal belief system. You have to have this by the age of this. You have to do this. But we know the depths of what has happened when it comes to who is out-resourced, who gets this, who gets that. And now that it's collapsing because of, things that are transiting and things that are being exposed, I realized a lot of these things I had to know. So I realized not only to protect myself moving forward, but my children and their children's children. They don't have to be a part of, like, your children. You are aware that they don't have to be a part of this country. Like, they don't have to be a part of certain things. There are people, I remember when I traveled years ago to Michigan. There are people that don't even watch TV. There are people that don't even know anything about sports. There are people that don't even cook. They don't even know about a celebrity. They don't know. So imagine you've never been exposed to this shit. So do you see how that evolves and transitions? My children will not know. They could care, like it's nothing against those people. They could care less. Could care less about a person who said to have all this money. What is that going to do for them? What is that going to do? What is that going to do for us that I need to know that they make this money? That they are here, that they're this big person in the world. There's billions of people. Why does that need to be exposed and forced in my life or my church's life? Oh, that's such and such. Wow. So? Who the fuck cares? What's different? What's any different? Because they eat different? Because they go here, they shop here? Because they hang around this person? Because they hang around that person? I look at a lot of people, coaches and all, not even just coaches, it's so many people Y'all are so what they call starstruck, or even it's almost like I see little children in awe of something that they don't see within themselves. What's really going on that people will literally defend someone? They will defend someone in dishonor, in inauthenticity, and not in integrity before they stand or protect someone that living out their truth. Even though things are shifting now, but that's what has happened generationally. I mean, look at the household. Look at what's young. That exposure and all those other things are how people protecting the people who don't try to fix their life. So I see it no differently on all levels. Y'all will protect the people who have kept the dysfunction, who keeps shit unstable. You will protect the artists, the celebrity. Y'all will protect these people and justify it and validate it. Because what it does, it validates, or it gives you a sense of survival. To make sure it validates your reality. Oh, I went and seen such and such, or I went here that. It validates your reality. Makes you feel like a feeling of self-importance. Oh, I know this person. Man, this shit be wild to me. Like I said, seeing these kids be exposed so young to stuff, you don't even let them grow up. Their fucking brains are still developing. Their consciousness is still unraveling. And that's why I told myself, I'm like, I realized, like, in being called to rest and do certain things, is to observe. It's to reinvent myself. It's to evolve past what the fucking world is viewing right now. I'm saying, like, this shit is, whoa. I'm like, this shit is mind-blowing sometimes. Really see, like, whoa. How can you not want to go away to protect not yourself, but your children? That's the split. Do y'all realize that's what's happening? That's what's going to happen. That's the split. Do y'all, man, shit is beautiful at the same time. It's like we're watching an old world dissolve before our eyes. And I'm sitting here like, just get ready, pack light, stay focused, love yourself. You don't have to have all the answers. I was telling one brother in the start, like, it amazes me, especially indigenous people, like certain things, like they'll tell you to run to the city. And then so many people get consumed by that, not realizing at a point in time, you were never in a part of the city. At a point in time, I'm talking about like you knew how to live amongst nature and shit. And that's what a lot of stuff is returning to. Like, it's a balance. Of course, technology and certain things are going to still be there, but it's like the reconnecting to nature. It's like, like you look at it, it'll show you how to slow down. It'll show you, like, man, that was definitely something. When I traveled, some of my most peaceful moments, it's like being, like, watching nature or watching shit just go at its own pace. But the city, like I told you, meeting people out here and so forth, it's like seeing children still be exposed to candy or certain shit. It's no difference than them being exposed to drugs. And they get so caught up in the inner city systems and shit like that to where they don't know where to go. I'm telling you, bro. It's really, the energy, it ain't just heavy. It's so much of like collectively, do y'all realize what the split, the osmosis that's happening? Like, this shit is wow. I love seeing people build their family compounds now, go away and build life outside of just what people, like what we've been groomed and programmed to believe. Like I was telling dude, I was like, nigga, I grew up like on the outskirts and stuff, but I really grew up. I seen some shit on the farm. Like I seen mules and shit. I seen a lot of stuff growing up, and it's wow how like they convince, like when you see elderly homes and stuff, like people don't realize they literally convince y'all that luxury is the biggest of biggest, having all these things. But then it's like to have all those things and you don't even know how to enjoy it. You don't even enjoy it with people. You don't even have joy with this shit. How can, and people sit back and just look at a country or look at environments. This shit is so divided. It's like you can walk and go across the street in somewhere and then look completely different than such and such. I'm like, whoa. And then the people with the neatest neighborhoods, again, they may have sympathy, but they don't have no empathy. I seen people walk by people like they don't even exist. That's why when I talked to that sister last night, I was like, you 36 and you got a son that's 21. So you know you had a child young, but I was like, we're in those moments where I told you, women are ready to be fed spiritually, emotionally, because that's what spirit is. Like we're in a place where we're shifting, like people are open, they're seeking to be fed in a way that isn't so superficial anymore, so surface. It's something greater on the horizon, so people are curious. It's like a child. And I just got this clarity that it's like when you think about consciousness or collective, we're evolving like a child. We're evolving. Because the source sees us as children, God sees us as children. It's like the collective, we're evolving. The collective mind is evolving. Let's say, like the first 7 years of a child life is significant. So it's like we're evolving from 6 to 7. And I feel like what's happening collective is like around 7 is whereas a child is a lot like more self-sufficient, where it's able to put its clothes on, just do things that's kind of more advanced. They're more self-sufficient. And see, by exposing our children or us being exposed so young, that doesn't mean we're self-sufficient. Collectively, how do you have people in the world that are all more self-sufficient? But this is the trick. It'll have you believing that people are more self-sufficient physically or financially. But when you have impulsiveness or people who cannot control their anger and they're violent or do certain things, then they're not self-sufficient when it comes to their emotion. They're not stable in that. So what happens with that tells you what? This has not been a stable nation. When you look at leadership and shit, when you talk about emotional immaturity, when you talk about people who not I'm telling you, you can have people with so many degrees, but when I sit there and talk to them, I'm like, damn, this person is like on the brink of exploding. Those who are in tune, you can recognize it because it's just like, again, they have bought into the American dream and realize it's been a nightmare. And what has happened is they never evolved emotionally. When you look at society, they never evolved emotionally because you will see their behavior patterns. Because emotional empathy is being able to, because emotional empathy will have you realizing that not to lose your own sense of self. And what has happened is once we're exposed very young, or once we expose to certain things, and then you have people feeling like, when you have systems that have been in place where you have to go this way, you have to do this, you have to do that, or else you're not deemed successful. I see a lot of successful people financially as it's portrayed to the world, but I see a lot of unsuccessful, unstable people emotionally, or unevolved people, like maturity wise. Because when you look at emotional empathy, again, these are the people right now, the mental illness, they have lost a sense of self. They don't know who they are, because emotions, there are different parts of emotions, meaning that there are different aspects and versions of yourself. You just bottled it up into your career. And okay, that's fine. People have found a way to make money. But the hidden part of that, they find a way to build or step on people on the way up, because you cannot look at these structures and not see how it was built on self-sacrifice, which leads to self-hatred, which leads to, again, self-sabotaging your own self to validate or seek validation, or even to not just seek validation, but people please in these corporations and business again. And you're only, what ends up happening is that inner child that's looking to build its own uniqueness and express from its self-expression of different parts. No, that inner child, you placed it in a box, you suppressed it just to please and perform in your sports arenas, in your corporations, in your business, and so forth. Then not only that, a lot of you have built identities around keeping people out, keeping certain people away. That only benefits one's ego. Not so that your spirit and soul can evolve, no, just from a place of ego. You want to be the big dog. You want to be the big honcho. Or now you want to use your status as, oh, I made it out, da 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 da. I don't need them, da 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 da. And oh my Lord, how the tables have turned or are turning. No one has did it by themselves. So you get to this place and you forget about the ones who did support you, even when they didn't have to. You forget about the ancestors who had to go through certain things for you to be there. You don't give gratitude to the ones that came before you. It's all about you. And then now you got your artists and all these other people. They're so self-made. They so this and that and da 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 and so forth. There's a balance. Let's be honest here. I'm not going to fool myself, like say like, oh, through my rebuilding and so forth, that I had not had to experience this or I had not had to experience that. Certain people had to expose themselves, but what was it giving me? What was it showing me? What I've sat back and I observed, I've seen that I don't care about nobody's opinion on this. The whole world has been fake. So how the fuck would I sit here and believe that any of these people have been authentic when it's been revealed to me that they haven't? Especially if I was part of the bullshit with it. I'd be like, how the fuck do y'all record so much of you doing deeds for people? What? And people just buy into it. Since when do you have to show someone that you're doing everything? Some shit to me be like, damn, y'all really are robots, bro. What they say, PCs and robot with it, something. Hey, I'm like, damn. You don't even gotta. The women on the street. This is morals, bro. The women on the street that are doing drugs and so forth are clothed more than women on social media. Like, we have to see it? We don't. I mean, shit, boy, you have... And what's so wild is like, children sees this shit. Kids see you. But again, we haven't grown up in society that there's no empathy. There's no self-respect. I'm grateful that it's all being for what it is. Because, man, it's no way I would ever want my daughter to see that shit. Because you know how dangerous, you know how easy it is for a child to see something and just to model out the... I mean, look at us as adults. We're still those children. That's what I'm trying to get y'all to realize. We are still those children. It's, for me, when I go online, it's easy to get influenced by something. It ain't even just the influence, it's the discipline. Because everyone in their reality are battling with some different type of vice. It's discipline. I had a memory come up the other day where I was walking and I was like, damn, I was really preyed on as a little boy, even into like early teenage. And I was like, damn, this woman really lured me in to her home. Then I had another memory come up where a woman, we grew up together, and it's just like, it's wow how what it showed me, like how much my mother didn't care if I was protected. And this is why I go so much like into depth, and also like in realizing like to whom is given much is required. I mean, you're giving this exposure, you're giving this mother, you're giving a lot of things. So much is required of you now. Shit, boy. Like, to think about that woman at that age is just like, that's how vulnerable she was, knowing that there was an age gap and so forth. I was like, dang, that shit hit me. And that's why I be telling y'all how people still are dealing or interacting or have dealt with things where men are preyed upon as well. Little boys. I'm giving y'all stuff to where I be talking about exposure. Think about men, young boys that are athletes, and they get that exposure, and all of a sudden, they're women, they're little girls, like, depending on their age, like, literally have no morality, no self-respect. And then you got even women, depending on the child's age, or young boys that's not even 18, you know, some of this shit, and they literally trying to just find a way. Even use their daughters. I told y'all about how certain things in my previous videos don't upload. How y'all don't realize how deep people will go to the depths of even like wanting to just be attached. Wanting to just know that you are. Man, do y'all not realize how divinely guided and protected a lot of us are right now? How what we're coming into, how we're going to have to be very discerning, because we have awareness of what the old world was and what people are willing to do just to be a part of something. Man, like I said, man, I just remember like walking in that neighborhood, and this woman had to, like I know now, this woman had to been watching me. I wrote about this and I forgot which book it was, but that was just saying how she had to been watching me. She had to been watching me. And one thing a lot of people don't realize, like when little boys are at that age where they're at puberty and, you know, they finding themselves, they smelling themselves, you do have women who probably have had, most likely have some type of traumatic background, sexually abused or so forth, or something that happened. And due to their unconscious patterns, or due to never seeking some type of therapy or going to get support, they can have a spirit of perversion. They can have something to where in that vulnerable state, they can prey on younger boys because they know that they can use, just as a man will use what's down there to manipulate emotionally, sexually, because that is a real thing, because the sexual abuse is a real, like I'm telling you, I learned about this. Sexual abuse ain't just the fact of someone forcing themselves. Sexual abuse is, in a way, if you research this, can be used through manipulation. Can be used to someone lying and not being honest about their intention. And now you have someone who's really a victim, and this has happened with a lot of men, young boys, and so forth, where a woman has this intention, or, college and all these athletes and stuff and people, they have this intention. No one told them to do these things. And then we immediately look at the woman or the young girl as a victim and not realizing like she too can have predatory behavior. And we don't ever ask, where did this stem from? Did she really say no? Was she just trying to manipulate this man or try to get over on him? That is sexual fucking abuse. I've experienced it. It's not easy. Because the reason why I'm being honest and vulnerable about this is because I can go as deep as having the person confess the fact of what they did and what they done. And it's like, whole time you'll have people have gone through some type of spiritual warfare or psychological warfare and believing like that they did something wrong, or they'll guilt themselves and have shame around the fact of they feel disgusted. And in reality, they are literally the victim until they come to that self-awareness. Like, victory comes again from being able to rise above that, to honor it, to speak about it. I'm telling you, when I see a lot of that stuff those kids be exposed to, you're not just exposing them the fact of, oh, he's the next big thing or she's the next big thing. Man, do y'all realize like how powerful social media is, or how the fact of in this newer generation with technology and stuff like that, where I tell people all the time, like, bro, y'all post y'all children, you don't even realize that how people can find people's location, how they posting pictures. Like, when I reflect on things, man, I was sitting here like putting myself, even in adult spaces, exposing myself to believing like you don't know who's watching. And that goes back to, again, the woman. It was a girl I grew up with, but the woman she knew, and she was in a basically like an abusive marriage, and and so forth and so forth. And in those moments, a lot of people like that are used to traumatic experiences, and they can become very manipulative and dangerous because they can want to lure someone in to reenact that, to prey on them to reenact that behavior, to prey, and you'll taking on those vices and that person's karma. But I'm telling you from experience, that shit was wild. Now that I get clarity of it, of how even people like expose their kids so young. Like, one of my books talks about how I was exposed young to those women that would say derogatory things toward, oh, your son, he fine. I'm sitting here 15, 12, or whatever age I was. Like, that went on for a long time. Mother never said shit. Hey, don't talk about my son like that. And then she did. These are women who are intoxicated. Again, these are red flags. These are things that we think that it's okay. That shit is not okay. Unwanted touching. Ooh, your son so da-da-da. I'm like, and we don't even realize like how, and the fact of even athletes, your children, whatever it is, being exposed so young to sex, to certain things, and it puts them in a place of like, this is a learned behavior pattern. I had to realize like I was breaking cycles of learned behavior patterns subconsciously. I was, like I said, that woman at a time, like I start to recognize like how deep enmeshment and also emotional incest the mother of my like my mom was with a lot of things, to where I was like, okay, I'm here to change and break something generationally and so forth. So I'm like, oh gosh, like no. And so like it's that deep to where I'm expressing to mothers who aren't aware, and then mothers who to be on the lookout for. Like, mothers are the first teachers. Like, you have to be cautious of what your children are doing. Unwanted touching goes on a lot. Do you see how a lot of these teachers, and you see a lot of the women now are being exposed because of, and then here you are, young men that are young, and then they're taught to not protect themselves and say no. No, they think that this is something they should engage in because they were never disciplined young, to realize like, no, that's much more depth that come with that. That's much more depth. That child can be scarred for life. That's an inner thing that happens with them when they're exposed to exchanging sex like that so young and experiencing something like that so young. They're not even mature. Sometimes they don't even realize what's going on. They're thinking about the feeling. And so when these conversations are never held, they don't care. Then you realize like some of these children already come from backgrounds where they're sexually assaulted or molested or something, abused or in some way and manipulated. And these are learned behavior patterns. That's why I see why so much of a rise of why you see women with multiple children, multiple baby fathers. It's a learned behavior. Even with men, it's a learned behavior pattern. The shit is that deep. No one ever asks, why do you do that? Hey, are you okay? Why do you keep choosing these men? Why do you keep choosing these women? Are you good? What's really going on? Did you learn this young? What type of... I was just watching an interview of somebody who was talking to a guy, asking him about what was going on with his why he do what he does with women and so forth. And the first thing he said was like probably his first exposure was from his mother and his sister, and most likely this is enmeshment. It's like emotional incest. Because a lot of young men, I'll be telling y'all mothers, like for some women who are unaware, that's the closest thing to home to them, like healthy wise, when it comes to a man. So they'll use him as a scapegoat. Same goes for little girls. Overprotective fathers, overly attached, and some things, a lot of them, you just don't know the depths of what they went through young. They never were told, they never were set down and so forth. So this is what's dangerous. This is what you have to be mindful of and protect. Like I'm telling you, we are moving away from things where as the healing becomes deeper, as we start to become more aware, you'll start to see clearly of the spiritual warfare, the roots of a lot of things ancestrally, and how a lot of our mothers wasn't protected, how a lot of things happen spiritually and played out into the physical, how a lot of things that we are healing when it comes to your womb space, then you're healing things emotionally, then that you're healing things mentally and so forth. Then you start to protect these things. You start to protect who you are, who you engage with, what you connect with. Because especially if you have children, what you connect with connects to them. So now the awareness around this is like, one of my videos, I tell y'all, man, all, if not most, are men. And what I mean by like predatory aspect or, prey on other people or women, it's because you cannot look at the fact of the media, the culture, and all the shit we grew up in. It's uncontrollable. So we have no control. We just been going with the flow, the distorted feminine aspect of what society, through the distorted mother, then the distorted father when he's not there, or the distorted father represents men who this distorted mother enables a distorted father. The men who represent just abusing their power when it comes to the feminine archetype, abusing and wanting to control, manipulate, pimp, all these things when it comes to abuse all around, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and so forth. And that's in media, music, sports, a whole bunch of stuff. All out in the world, all out in the family, and so forth. Religious wise, when I say spiritual, shit, before you have religion, things are spiritual, happen spiritually before they play out into a religious aspect. Like, that's common sense. So now with that, it brings awareness to you realizing like how much you've been exposed to. How you realize like a lot of people's hearts are not clean, their hands are not clean. And so what ends up happening is that they're not going to be able to hold back or to not show who they really are. This is what's so dangerous right now. This is what's so that's peaking for a lot of people when these transits happen, when a lot of stuff come up, because they cannot hide their over-sexualized appetite, their emotional manipulative tactics, their abuse of power, and so forth. You're going to see it play on all levels, so forth, because balance has to be restored. And this is where, again, you really gonna see how wicked and unrighteous shit is, bro. I'm telling you, bro, because boy, I be sitting there like, whoa. I just be grateful for a sound mind, for peace in these moments, and be grateful because that's the beauty of the healing and the great things that are coming down the pipeline, as Bobby Hemmett said. Because moving forward, our mothers, our daughters, our daughters that are going to become mothers, if it's meant for them in this lifetime and lifetimes to come, they won't have to go through this bullshit. That's why the cleansing and the purification is happening now on all levels, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and so forth. And a way will be made. That's the most challenging things, is like a way is going to be made. And people are still going to be uprooted. Things are still going to be cleansed and purified, no matter how people like it or not. Like, no one's bigger than the program. So y'all take care of yourself. The reason I'm telling you that is like, I realized like that distorted mother, I realized I know very well. And like I said, just like that interaction with that woman years ago, I'm like, whoa. Like, I'm talking about how you going from the innocence of walking on the street, you meeting, like, it was one of my childhood friends, like, she knew of the woman who I think, like, she watched her kids or whatever one time, but she knew of her, but I remember her still making little comments to me, because I think of that, I was like 20, 21. But again, here's a woman who was, supposedly split from someone, married or whatever, said was still legally married, and just the fact of her having smaller children, here it is, I tell y'all about, like, shit is wild how you will go through patterns of realizing, like, playing out or reenacting a mother wound, or how the mother wound will reenact is like this savior complex. And then the whole time you would think the man is in fault. The whole time we don't talk about how the abuse started, how women prey on men. Like I said, I was walking down the street and I remember vividly like how the woman peeked out of her door. Like, this woman had to have this focus on me to realize she knew what she wanted. And by all means, she was gonna do what she did, and she knew, and she strategized this shit. I'm telling you how, like, shit happened strategically. I remember walking down the street at night, and I just see her peek out the door, and she was saying something like da da da, like, come, and it was like literally luring me in, and it went from that to her giving me like what her kids was resting, and her giving me, fellatio, and that right there again, me having like never experienced a feeling or certain things before. Because if y'all don't know, like, listen, I didn't, encounter or do anything sexually until like I was what? My first was like 20. Like 20. Like, but then you will hear people like, I was scared. I'm glad I was afraid, scared when I was young, because you hear people like middle school, like, or early elementary, 10, 11, 12. I'm like, what? And again, pressure, exposure. We think like this is something that's normal. Exposure, then all of a sudden you hear, boom, somebody pregnant at 13, 14, 15. Exposure. So now I'm sitting here like, I realized I started to put that shit together. I was like, wow, I was sexually abused. I was mentally abused, and it went so far. I'm not gonna go into detail. It just went somewhere to where like I literally almost threw away my whole life for a woman who I know preyed on me, who I knowingly know, because it went from me playing a role of trying to be a pretend father when I had a whole life to live. And I had no one say, hey man, stay away. I had a cousin that was like, man, stay away from that woman. But my mother, I had no one, no discipline, no nothing, because, you young at that age, all of a sudden you doing all these things and like, yeah, I'm the man because da 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 da. And then you don't know someone's background. You don't know someone's, have they been doing this? And, and come to find out, yeah, it was a pattern. It was a pattern of this person. And then I start to realize like, this person, now I look at a lot of things now, you see the depths of what people probably went through. Most likely, if she hasn't told me, but like I don't speak to her no more, but I know she had to really go through something, because she was dealing with physical abuse, but it was definitely probably something sexual there too. And what happens is people use that to manipulate someone who's innocent or vulnerable. So I still see the adult like aspect is the same way. Some people literally know that you are vulnerable, or just like this. When I say essence, they see your light. It's like that. They see their inner child that they want to be able to abuse and use. And that's why I see how women that are artists and people with models and do all this other stuff, all that stuff, if you have looked in the last 100 years or whatever it is, the last era, it's so much perversion, it's so much abuse, it's so much control and manipulation around it, bro. I'm like, and y'all sitting here want to be exposed to this shit, like, and want to be a part of something. You have no idea the depths, the vices, the warfare that come with that shit. I see how certain people move with their children and certain stuff. I'm like, oh, you just want your kids to be, bro, even the shelter experience, that was deep. How people just expose their children. I remember I tell you, but we had folks in there pissed just because I didn't want my children just around random people so much at all. If not, because you will have children that, like a mother that be very abusive to her children, and all of a sudden that child will come play with your child. Or I had an incident where she would play, like her first interaction with my child, and literally like pushed her and was doing it and had like this anger towards her. There's moments where you're in a vulnerable position where, again, these are structures that have been fueled off the pains, the backs of mothers, siphoning their energy when it comes to just every time someone goes in there, they're learning from the staff, people telling me like it's money behind all that when people go into there. The bigger the family, the more money the heads and persons that go in there. They love to see women. Like you can see how they love to have women in there because that's what it's called. The Y, what they call it, YWCA, stuff like that is to where, again, I look at the energy. I look at the shit that's collapsing. I look at the food they are fed. I look at the energy the staff and all this other people are in. These are very, very portal-like places that like literally siphons or feeds off low frequency or low vibes or just depression and so forth. This is why I saw how people stay ill because they never care to eat healthy. They never fast. They never care to really do nothing different. And then on top of that, even when it comes to the spiritual communities, it's the same shit that's collapsing because there are people in part of stuff like that are, again, there's no difference in religious community. It's spiritual. People who pray on the depression, on the suppressing of, to continue to have people suppress and repress their emotions when it comes to religious figures or when it comes to them taking something that really belongs to them first, like facing and feeling, but giving it to someone else. That's basically avoiding. So what ends up happening, you still have to deal with that emotion. So you having generations of women who have done this shit and men who have enabled it and supported it. And so what ends up happening is that, again, you have cycles of self-abuse. You have cycles of not really building anything self-sufficient. Nothing on self-love. So again, these places, bro, I'm brought to them for me to realize, like, wow, the energy of these places it's the same shit. It's the same, like, never really rising out of the survival, because it's all they know. When I see a lot of adults that strung out on drugs and stuff like that, it's like the sister I was talking to, I was like, I had to be real and raw with her. I was like, hold on one second. Yeah, let me finish this up. I was like, yeah, you went through things and you kind of remind me of my mother, but I want to let you know that, like, that motherly energy is like, I still see the little girl in you. You have a son, yeah, and I put my son where you are. But at the same, I put myself where you are, put myself where your son is. And I'm just being real, because you never know, your encounters with people are like fated. And I told her, I was like, your son is going to grow up with abandonment issues. And I don't just mean physically abandoning him. I mean the fact of you're not choosing to love yourself and honor yourself. I told her, I said, say an affirmation, I am enough. Meaning that I am enough to get out of this. I am enough to rise above it. And it's the emotions around that, because even when you come out of something like that, you still have to love the version of where you were. And you may get judgment, you may get ridiculed, because your son's emotions or whatever he is to feel when you were not there is going to be valid. That's what most people don't realize. Like, when you see how you have been mistreated, dehumanized, devalued, even in society and so forth and so forth, you wanting me to forget about that shit and not acknowledge it? I had to love myself through that mistreatment. I had to love myself and honor myself. You didn't. You showed me that you were the opposite of that. So how could I be trusting now of you? No, I trust me more. I love me more. So this is the thing that what has had people so disassociated, because they haven't been connected. And I had to tell her, I was like, you have to have empathy for the version that you are now. Because if you don't, that's how you're going to most likely kind of like relapse or go back into the same thing, because you have to have empathy for that little girl and go back into that little girl. See, you have to see past people's exterior, and you're like, you have to look past, you have to go to that little girl, because you abandoned that little girl, and this is why you're here in this state, because you've abandoned whatever version, and whoever abandoned you, your mother and father, you have to make that choice to no longer abandon yourself emotionally, mentally, and so forth. Because then you'll be able to emphasize with that version of yourself, to realize like this stems from something way deeper than me. So now I'm able to rise above it. You got to be able to love yourself through it. And loving yourself is loving the parts that you wanted to hate and being able to like have empathy for the parts of you that you hated. So, man, I'm telling you, man, like again, it's when you don't have a society that emphasizes or know how to put themselves in places. Look at your policing. Like that's why how people can like build systems or have stuff where you can't even emphasize for the mother after you have unalived a man or woman. Same with gang culture, certain stuff. You can't even emphasize for someone after you did some shit like that. Man, please. This shit is deeper. It's not gonna happen overnight, but it's something that is it's baby steps, but it's deep. Like I said, that woman deserved to be fed spiritually. That's what I'm here to give y'all. I'm here like I feed myself spiritually, and I come on here to share stuff with y'all. It's to feed your spirit, your soul, your essence. All of us have, that little boy and girl. And some of the learned behavior patterns, you don't have to feel guilt and shame around them. It's going to be there, but that's the thing where you have to learn to emphasize with that part of yourself too, that you didn't know any better. Just like your mother and father. You didn't know any better. That's how I started looking at the ignorance of people. I'm like, this motherfucker didn't know no better. Like I said, the shelter experience, a lot of that stuff showed me. I'm like, damn. A lot of people right now, they don't need to be. I went through, bro. I'm gonna tell you something. I went through shit to where, like, when I say I'm tired, it's like you get to a place where you don't have the energy to reciprocate ignorance and stupidity. So it's like you remove yourself from the equation. But a lot of people are at a place like we don't need to be beaten down more. That sister, that I saw her in the store, she just wanted to be seen. She finally had someone who saw the little girl inside of her, that everyone, even though they see this adult woman who has blisters on her hands and stuff like that, and she didn't ever think, because some of these people out here, they didn't ever think that people will see them. See them to the depths and not judge them. Because there was a little girl still in there seeking for someone someday to come along and say, hey, you can see me? You can see me. Yeah, I see you. And that's what all of my people who watch, I see you. I see you. And see, that's the thing where we have overlooked so much in our lives, and because of learned behaviors, like we haven't been taught to acknowledge and see all the versions of ourselves to where we've gotten. And this is what keeps us from seeing the very people on the street that are a representation of us, that are versions of us, that the divine is just showing you can be there. You can be there. What I mean by that, like life can change in the blink of an eye. One paycheck away, one hit away, whatever it is, you can be there. Because when some people hit that bottom, they don't know nothing else. I see no different than people of certain status and celebrity. Bro, I see them. I see them. I see the little boy and girl in them that just want to be living a world normal, living their world peacefully and normal. And I told that since I said, you're not at peace that you're in your world. That's why you're just trying to escape. Because it's all either you know or this is what you want to do. That's it. But a lot of y'all had the power to turn your life around. So, like, just like that, your life can turn around just like that. So yeah, y'all take care of yourself. Love on yourself. Give yourself grace. One step at a time. Like I said, to even be vulnerable about the stories that I went through, that shit is wild because it just shows me I have no capacity, no nothing for people who are not protective of their inner child, who are not trying to make progress towards facing things within themselves. That's my belief system. That's why, again, like the shelter experience was so discerning. Like I realized how much I was standing up for my inner child in the dynamics that I was in and the connections and so forth. Once I started seeing people hang out and do certain things, I'm like, this is just a person that's later on in their years doing what they were doing or what they feel that was normal. And whether from childhood into this is how they cope. This is how they go through things, to each their own. It ain't for me. Because then I'll start to get into shit that I don't even need to be in right now. I want more out of life. When you want more, wanting more also comes with doing less. Y'all think working hard or doing more to get more, I think that's the biggest fucking bullshit. Because doing less is like I'm resting more than I have been in years. It may not make sense to nobody else, but in my resting more, I'm realizing my nervous system now is even more in alignment. I'm recovering that part of myself from having a dysregulated nervous system, dealing with chronic pains and shit in my body. Dealing with the fact of like resting for over like 30 something years of never going to get therapy for my back from being hit by a car. Like these things are vital because I'm having to do yoga and rest more. It's because, those resting moments is to remind you that there's a bigger picture than just going. And I'm preparing to rest even more, to doing less, but creating more. With doing that, being clever in my approach and being intentional. So, y'all take care of yourself. Peace and blessings. Shalom.